Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Good afternoon to everyone. Oh. It took me a nap. I was too fucking cranky. I figured maybe a nap will help. So that's what I did. Talk about step 2 today. Oh, we're doing that. Get rid of some of my tabs up here that don't need. I kind of need the rest to remind me what I'm doing. Do other people do that where you just leave the tab open because it's something that you need to get to? I might be the only person that does that. Ugh. I'm going to be reading step 2 out of the 12 by 12. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. Good afternoon, Michelle. It's good to see you. I had an alarm set just in case I slept too long. Good afternoon, Leisure. It's good to see you. Before I really get started here, and talk about something a little personal. This isn't too long. Well, I think it's longer than I thought it was. Doesn't matter. We'll get through it. If you probably haven't figured out by now, I'm kind of an emotional person. In fact, wish feelings were fact. Make my life a lot easier. There's a lot of things in this. There's a lot of things that other people get to do that just aren't, that I don't get to, like work, like get things done. I only have a certain amount of hours each day that I really get to get anything done. And when it's consumed by my other mental illnesses, it makes it even harder for me. And it's all these little things that make me feel separated from society. Like today, this world's just too fucking big for Dion. There's too much. And doesn't help that there's stigma out there that kind of goes with it. My wife gets a lot of grief for, my wife gets grief for being married to me. People assume what I am and things like that. And, it's been that way most of my life. I have a really hard time being somewhere where I am required to be. My defiance is so deep. Even AA meetings sometimes. So right now, the grassroots is kind of ticking me off. Not the people in it, just the meeting, because I feel like I'm required. Even though it's something I did to myself, I feel required to be there. And even that gets to be a little difficult for me. Something I've been working through for a very, very, very long time. So, sometimes I wonder maybe I can go do this or do that, but I can't because of my limitations. And that gets pretty frustrating for me sometimes. I can't do all the things that everybody else gets to do. And, you know, like vacation. My wife and I have never been on vacation. We've been together 15 years. I mean, it's shit like it comes down to a lot of things. Um, you know, so I do my best in trying to help other people. Even all my doctors and my therapists have said that I'm not allowed to work. The only way that I am allowed to work is if I'm helping other people. But then I get restrained by their rules and then I can't do it. Or, I mean, it sucks. I don't want everybody to go out of their way to make it so that Dion can do that. I don't want that in life. I don't want control like that, so it's something that I'm kind of going through. That explains why I act the way that I act sometimes. It can be very frustrating. But we're going to get to step 2 in the 12 by 12 now. Welcome, Daily Trudge. My name is Dion. If you're here, please say hello, whether you're watching the live or the rewatch. So step 2, came to believe in a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Well, the first agreement we're going to have to come to is that we're insane. And the definition for insanity for alcoholics is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. It isn't really the definition that would be made in, well, let's just see what the definition is. See, and see how and where that kind of applies to us. Definition of insanity.
Here's the definition of insanity: the state of being seriously mentally ill, madness.
It fits extreme foolish irrationality. Who said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result? It was, I can see his face. I know his name. Benjamin Franklin. Oh, it was Albert Einstein. Okay. I was going to say same era, but no, they weren't. They weren't in the same era. About 100 years apart on that one, right? So, well, we know that a genius came up with it, right? The moment they read step 2, most newcomers are confronted with a dilemma, sometimes a serious one. How often have we heard them cry out, "Look what you've done to us. You have convinced us that we're alcoholic and that our lives are unmanageable. Having reduced us to a state of absolute helplessness, you do now declare that none but a higher power can remove our obsession. Some of us won't believe in God. Others can't, and still others who do believe that God exists have no faith whatever. He will perform this miracle." Yeah, you got us over the barrel here, all right. But where do I go from here? Some people feel fooled and they get angry and leave. I'm going to talk about God before we even get started, because I feel like I'm fooling them into something. Nowadays, we call that a bait and switch, man. I mean, we're not trying to, but it can come across that way. So we got to be very careful on how we present these things. Not very careful, but, a lot of people know that God's involved with AA, but they tend to think that we're a religious organization, and we are not. What we do is we support all the religions. We support all forms of spirituality. When they realize that we're not going to tell them what kind of God to believe in, then they start to understand. Because what we're actually doing is we're actually giving you the power of choice, something you haven't had in a long, long time. Power of choice. Let's look first at the case he says he won't believe, the belligerent one. He is in a state of mind which can be described only as savage. His whole philosophy of life, in which he's so glorified, is threatened. It's bad enough, he thinks, to admit that alcohol has him down for keeps, but now, still smarting from that admission, he is faced with something really impossible. How he does cherish the thought that man, risen so majestically from a single cell of in the primordial ooze, is the spearhead of evolution, therefore the only God that his universe knows. Must he renounce all this to save himself? Now, it's weird, even though I didn't go through this, I understand where this person is coming from, just because I'm an alcoholic. Like, what's the point of it? Was it, who knows? And they may be right. Even to this day, they might be right. For me, I don't think that that's true. We don't say this much in AA anymore, but we used to say it a lot. I'd rather go through life believing in a higher power to find out that there isn't one than to go through denying God to find out that there is one. Even if there is no higher power, it's still working for me. It still seems to be working for me. Even if it doesn't exist, for some reason, it's still working for me. So isn't that kind of proof to me? I mean, gosh, I put faith in a lot of different things, including myself. I put it in booze. I put my faith in other people. See, what it was for me was misplaced faith. That's what it came down for me. At this juncture, as AA sponsor usually laughs, this newcomer thinks this is just about the last straw. This is the beginning of the end. And so it is, the beginning of the end of his old life and the beginning of his emergence into a new one. His sponsor probably says, take it easy. The hoop you have to jump through is a lot wider than you think. At least I have found it so. So did a friend of mine who was a once-time vice president of the American Atheist Society. But he got room. He got through with room to spare. Amber says, both people I offered a job to last week showed up and worked all day. Good for you. Nice, Amber. And they didn't suck assholes. Well, that's always a benefit when your employees aren't running around sucking buttholes. That's a good thing. Good job. I'm glad to hear that. Well, says the newcomer, I know you're telling me the truth. It's no doubt a fact that AA is full of people who once believed as I do. But just how in these circumstances does a fellow take it easy? That's what I want to know. And what do we mean by taking it easy? Well, that you don't have to put a lot of thought into it, that you don't have to put a bunch of effort into it, that you don't need to figure out everything in this world in order to believe in something. You can start very, very small. Just a little bit. Right? Leisure says, sorry you're struggling. It's been a valley for me the last few weeks to read the control thing I sent you. Okay. I will do that. Dad agrees the sponsor is a very good question indeed. I think I can tell you exactly how to relax. You won't have to work at it very hard either. Listen, if you will, to these three statements. First, Alcoholics Anonymous does not demand that you believe anything. We're not going to make you. We can't make you. Everyone thinks the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah, and it's not. No, that's just the alcoholic definition. I cringe when I hear that because I know it's not the definition. Yeah, I understand that. I get it. So we all don't have to believe in anything. Here it is, the power of choice. See, when you make a choice to believe in something, in a higher power, something bigger than you, your intentions and everything already starts changing. What you attract will change. Who is in your life will change. All of it will start to become something different. Right? All of its 12 steps are but suggestions. And we all know what kind of suggestion it is, though. It's the same kind of suggestion that if you jump out of an airplane, we highly suggest that you pull the ripcord for your parachute. It's the same kind of suggestion, but you don't have to. If you want to hit the ground going 100 miles an hour, I mean, that's up to you. All right. Second, to get and stay sober, you don't have to swallow all of step 2 right now. No, I think step 2 is a continuous step. Step 2 and 11 go together. 2 and 11 go together. All right, we continued. We tried to. So what is this? Well, it's practiced. It's an art. And art needs to be practiced, right? If you want, when I learned how to play the drums, I had to practice, and I practice and practice. Leisure says we even accept fake religion. Sure. You know, if you want to, it's been a while, but if you want to believe in a doorknob, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. Okay. But people have got to start somewhere, even if it's a little silly. You know, maybe that's just how their brain tracks. Who knows? So you don't have to do all of it right now. Looking back, I find that I took it piecemeal myself. Right? In the spiritual experience, in the big book, it talks about the 2 types. And they're generalized. There's as many spiritual experiences in AA as there is people. Sorry, still waking up from my nap. Oh, it must be nice to nap. Well, it must be nice to get shit done. So, 'cause that's what people usually tell me. Oh, it must be nice that you can nap, and it just pisses me off. So, and now somebody to say, fuck with me. Right. So, a lot of us do what's called the educational variety, where it happens slowly over a matter of time. I don't think I would have wanted a sudden spiritual experience for the obsession. I'm going to tell you now, that sounds very uncomfortable to me. See? Right? That's my purse. That's my purse. Amber says, that's my shirt. I don't know you. It's from a king of the hill. All right. And Bobby, who's the son, his dad, Hank, tells him, now, Bobby, I used to be able to do his because it's the same voice as Beavis and Butthead. Shut up, Beavis. You're making it suck, and it doesn't even suck. All right. Bobby. Oh, that was close. Bobby, you need to, he tells him, you need to go down to the community center and sign up for some kind of class and maybe, you know, he wanted him to get into boxing so he could learn how to defend himself from the bullies. But instead, because it was the only class open, he ended up in a women's self-defense class. All right. And so they'd be doing scenarios where you role play, and he was walking along having a person in class. So he comes up and tries to take, he's like, that's my purse. I don't know you, which is what they taught him to say. And then he kicks him in the nuts. So he starts walking around kicking everybody in the nuts. And Hank has a problem with this because that's not how boys fight. It's a cheap way to do it. Okay. Now, if a woman's being attacked and you kick him in the nuts, yeah, kick swiftly, my young ladies. Do it. It's the first place you go for it. Knock that motherfucker out. Anyway, so that's kind of why we say that. Running joke. Third, all you really need is a truly open mind. Just resign from the debating society and quit bothering yourself with deep questions whether it was the hen or the egg that came first? Again, I say all you need is an open mind. I don't need to figure it all out right now. In fact, I'm going to tell you now, God's been a big part of my life for most of my life. I've been sober longer than I drank. I have more years sober than I do years drinking. When I'm drinking, God's not in my life. I just put it that way. Right. And I'm not even close to quote unquote figuring it out. I don't need to take on the big ifs in the world, the worldly clamors. I can't change a lot of things. Right. That's my AHP. That's my higher power. I don't know you. Yeah. If somebody tries to steal your higher power, you kick them in the nuts. The sponsor continues. Take, for example, my own case. I had scientific schooling. I love science too. It amazes the fuck out of me, man. Naturally, I respect, magic is just science, right? Okay. Had scientific, naturally, I respected, venerated, and even worship science. As a matter of fact, I still do. All except the worship part. Time after time, my instructors held up to me the basic principle of all scientific progress: search and research again and again, always with an open mind. When I first looked at AA, my reaction was like yours. This AA business, I thought, is totally unscientific. This I can't swallow. I simply won't consider such nonsense. What about that electricity that goes to your house? What about the internet? All these things that you place your faith in, so that every morning you wake up and have faith that the internet will be there. What is Neil deGrasse's view on God? Neil deGrasse on God. Let's see. Does Neil deGrasse Tyson believe in God? He's our leading scientist person right now. Okay. Tyson is not only a scientist, he also recognizes himself as an agnostic. Tyson's disbelief in the existence of God by seeing various such events as volcanoes. That's not what I got on it from him. I've heard some other things where he's talked about perfection and stuff. So I'll have to dig into that a little bit more before I talk on it. Then I woke up. I had to admit that AA showed results, prodigious results. Yeah, everywhere I watch people putting their lives back together. They have 90 days, 6 months, under a year, and they're putting their lives back together. AA does for people in a matter of months what it takes therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists and doctors and lawyers and judges years to do. Right? But when we combine them together, when we utilize the professionals while working the program, it speeds it up. So what is AA? AA is a catalyst. It makes things happen faster, right? Which we kind of need, don't we? Imagine going 3-4 years with that obsession, white knuckling it for 3-4 years. I mean, heck, Dr. Bob went through it for 2.5 years, but because he did so much service work, he said that he never came close to yielding, right? I saw that my attitude regarding these things had been anything but scientific. It wasn't AA that had a closed mind. It was me. The minute I stopped arguing, I could begin to see and feel. Right there, step 2, gently and very gradually began to infiltrate my life. I can't say upon what occasion or upon what day I came to believe in a power greater than myself, but I certainly have that belief now. To acquire it, I had only to stop fighting and practice the rest of AA's program as enthusiastically as I could. Now, There's going to be days when your enthusiasm isn't as much as it. So what is it saying? As you can for that day. So each day, do it as well as you can. Am I doing the best that I've ever done in the program today? No. But it doesn't need to be. Even though I'm going through it, I can still see a little bit of progress here and there. I can see certain things. The big thing is I don't have to go to the hospital for Ativan because I'm not allowing to get it. I'm not letting it get to that point. That's a big one. Yeah. I used to have Ativan on hand. And I had my wife hang on to it, but the problem with that was I knew it was there. So I haven't done that for years. We just need to get rid of it. And if I absolutely need it, then we'll let the hospital, then we'll let the doctors decide. And even then they start coming up with other ways. There we go. Me taking advantage of some Western medicine. I'm not big on Western medicines, even though I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I got 4 scripts, but they're all right. This is only one man's opinion based on his own experience, of course. I must quickly assure you that AAs tread innumerable paths in their quest for faith. If you don't care for the one I've suggested, you'll be sure to discover one that suits if only you look and listen. Now, you don't really have to put much effort into it. At least that's been my experience. I'm the one that decides whether or not I'm standing in the sunlight of the Spirit. I'm the one that gets to decide that. Many a man has begun to solve the problem of method of substitution. You can, if you wish, make AA itself your higher power. Here's a very large group of people who have solved their alcohol problem. In this respect, they are certainly a power greater than you, have not even come close to a solution. Surely you can have faith in that. All right, so a lot of times people come in there, well, I don't trust things. Well, then trust the program, trust the process. You don't need to trust the people, but watch the process and watch what happens. Well, even this minimum of faith will be enough. Oh, it's 2 million strong and it's still a minimum of faith. And why is that? Because they're human. Okay. Not an AA group, AA itself, not an AA group. The 2 million people of Alcoholics Anonymous who have a primary purpose of staying sober and helping other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. That's bigger than you. But I'm going to tell you now, it goes on later to say that you've got to move on from that. But it's a great start. That's why I don't give people a hard time once they've figured out what their higher power is, even if it's a little silly. My first higher power was Batman. It was bigger than me. It was bigger than me. Silly. Okay. The way I see it is, he is the Father and we are his children. And as a father, I do not make very hard terms for my children to ask me for help. I don't make very hard terms on anyone, and people still have a hard time approaching me and asking. Unless I know you're going to waste my time. AA has been, Clara Joyce says, AA has been the fact-finding to my contempt prior to investigation. Yeah. See, we didn't even bother to look. We just assumed. Mind of an alcoholic for sure. In this respect, they are certainly a power greater who have not even, surely you have faith. Even this minimum of faith will be enough. You will find many members who have crossed the threshold just this way. GOD, group of drunks. All right. All of them will tell you that once across, Their faith broadened and deepened. Relieved of the alcohol obsession, their lives unaccountably transformed. They came to believe in a higher power, and most of them began to talk of God, not the AA group. What does that essentially mean? Okay. A lot of us have different names for our, personally, I prefer higher power. That's what I prefer that because it feels more spiritual. But the word that we use in AA is God. It's just a universal word that we all use. But your God and how you perceive God and what's going on with you is different. And that's okay. In fact, it's more than okay. It's exactly on spot. All right. So what they're saying is eventually we all come to the God word. And what is that? It's us getting rid of our terminal uniqueness, being one with each other. It was uncomfortable for me for a long time too. Because I didn't believe, because when you said God, I thought of Mormonism and Christianity and Catholicism and I'm like, no, not a chance. But higher power I could go for. See how we create some of these words to help us find the ends that meet. All right. Consider the next flight of those who once had faith but have lost it. I think this is probably the hardest one. I haven't been there. Okay. God was not a difficult thing for me. It wasn't. I did not have a hard part. There wasn't really a really hard part. I think 6 and 7 probably the hardest ones for me because I refused to look at that being perfect thing. Right. So, Heather says, waiting to see if I'm needed tonight, paid back up, would gladly take 4 hours pay, head back and join you in the meeting. Well, let's all pray that Heather gets what she wants. So we can have her at the meeting. We're going to be selfish. All right. So I'll be like, dear God, please get Heather out of work. Thank you. We all know that's a shit prayer. That's why it's funny. Yes, a source, Michelle. That's a good way to put it too. We need to find a source that works for us. Thank you for another word. Appreciate that. All right. There will be those who have drifted into indifferent, those filled with self-sufficiency who have cut themselves off, those who have become prejudiced against religion, which I get, and those who are downright defiant because God has failed to fulfill their demands. Can AA experience tell all of these they may still find a faith that works? You know, I've met a lot of different people. And, you know, what you guys met Christine. You'll meet her again in a week from this Wednesday. I'm willing to give up every other week with her for you guys, but she's kind of a closed mouth friend, and we talk. There are some things I need to talk about with a person who understands it, if that makes sense. Just like I was saying earlier, when I talk about things, sometimes it's tough because I don't feel like people understand me. But I know I'm not terminally unique, but I don't want my brain to go back there, right? Okay. She's an atheist. She didn't utilize AA, but you guys loved her, huh? She doesn't pray. She doesn't do it, but I see faith in her. She has faith in the process. That's why she continues to do the job that she does. And she's really fucking good at it too. Like really good. All right. Sometimes AA comes harder to those who have lost or rejected faith than those who never had any faith. Yeah, because there's no expectations. There's no past trauma. All right. Yeah. There's no, you know, when I went to church, I grew up Mormon, and we guys, those who that listen to my talk, that was hilarious, huh? I'm like, yeah, I grew up Mormon. And then I just shut up and the room was silent. And I went to I just went to the microphone. I said, no, it's okay. It's okay. I've recovered from my Mormonism. And and I said, besides, I got out of the Mormon religion because what good is a religion if you can't have more than one wife? Come on. They got rid of polygamy, so I'm out of here. All right, just a joke. They have tried the way of faith and the way of no faith. Since both have proved bitterly disappointed, they have concluded there is no place whatever for them to go. The roadblock of indifference, fancy, self-sufficiency, prejudice, and defiance often prove more solid and formidable for these people than any erected by the unconvinced agnostic or even militant atheist. Religion says the existence of God can be proved. The agnostic says it can't be proved, and the atheist claims proof of the non-existence of God. Obviously, the dilemma of the wanderer from faith is that of profound confusion. He thinks himself lost at any comfort of any conviction at all. He cannot attain, in even a small degree, the assurance of the believer, the agnostic, or the atheist. He is the bewildered one. You know, when I used to train, there was one area where I trained him for merchant services. It was a cash advance program, or yeah. We gave people loans based on their check writing history, and it worked. We didn't, yeah. Our risk was not that high because of the program that we had. But I would get salespeople from our competition who trained, let's just say it was highly unethical. We'll put it that way. And I would have to reel them back because they thought they were just going to make tons and tons of money on making a couple of sales. I'm like, with us, that ain't going to happen. 95% of the time, they did not sell shit. They didn't sell nothing. Because they couldn't come back and start doing it the right way because they had formed a habit of doing it the wrong way already. And I used to complain to my boss. I'm like, boss, when they come from EPS, my job is 5 times harder. We should not even bother training these people if they work for EPS. Of course, you know, he was the businessman smart. He's like, no, let's go ahead and just keep doing that. Yes, boss. Any number of AAs can say the drifter. Yes, we were diverted from my childhood faith too. The overconfidence of youth was too much for us. Of course, we were glad that that good home and religious training had given us certain values. We were still sure that we ought to be fairly honest, tolerant, and just, that we ought to be ambitious and hardworking. We became convinced that such simple rules of fair play and decency would be enough. Yeah, I was fooled by that too. See, I thought everybody was going to play by the rules. I still get fooled by that. I presume that people are going to follow the rules, but they don't. Even in my own industry. Did you know that at one point, the recovery industry, there was no competition? We didn't do competition. We all worked together. It's the way it used to be. So I was kind of fooled when I came back, and now there's people competing for clients with alcoholism. And I just, see, now you know why it's hard for me to get into that, because what am I going to do? Become a salesperson? You know, it's, as material success founded upon no more than these ordinary attributes began to come to us, we felt we were winning at the game of life. This was exhilarating and it made us happy. I've never had much money, so I haven't been through this. I understand why, but I haven't been through it. Why should we be bothered with theological abstractions and religious duties, or with the state of our souls here or hereafter? There's another faith. Money. The faith of money. Will money solve all my problems? No. Do you think that what I was going through this morning, do you think money would have solved that? No, that's what, and it's why I'm so turned off from money, because growing up, my parents thought money was love. Doing, paying for something, when really all I wanted was some time, some attention. How about you take 2 hours off of work and spend some time with me? That's the money that I want you to spend on me. How does that work? No. Oh no, we gotta get that money. All right. Why would we believe in God when gosh, we're doing so well? Money can't buy you love. It can buy you sex, but it can't buy you love. See, that's where we alcoholics get things confused. Hmm. The here and now was good enough for us. The will to win would carry us through, but then alcohol began to have its way. Finally, all our scorecards read 0, and we saw that one more strike would put us out of the game forever. We had to look for our lost faith. It was in AA that we rediscovered it, and so can you. Isn't that neat? AA helps all sorts of kinds of people. Okay. From the person that got the DUI to the sober curious, to the person that has an alcohol problem, to the chronic alcoholic who wakes up in the morning and has to put alcohol in their body in order to survive for another day. We help all of them. Yeah. Even non-alcoholics we help. Now we come to another kind of problem, the intellectually self-sufficient man or woman. To these, many AAs can say, yes, we were like you, far too smart for our own good. We love to have people call us precocious. I know that I did like that. I just didn't know why. So we're going to look it up. Definition of precocious.
Here's the definition of precocious of a child, having developed certain abilities or proclivities at an earlier age than usual.
Oh, well, fuck. I don't know how many times people were like, God, Dion, you're like 13 going on 50. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Oh, you're wiser than your years. Yeah, I know. Oh, I loved it. Ate it up. Oh, how many times I was, if you were just a little bit older, I'd date you. And I said, who said I'd date you? You're assuming. Don't do that. I had a lot. I had a lot of counselors while I was in halfway houses hit on me. It was gross. Okay. There we are. There I am being precocious again. Just like I love being the center of attention. I love being wise. I love helping other people out. And I've always been this way. And that's being precocious. And I always have to watch it, or I will fall into what everybody else falls into. It is so hard to stay away from that. I could be making a shit ton of money with what I know, but it wouldn't be the same. Then I would feel like I owed something. I wouldn't be able to come on in a bad, then my life would always have to be, So we used our education to blow ourselves up into prideful balloons, so we were careful to hide this from others. Secretly, we felt we could float above the rest of the folks on our own brain power alone. Scientific progress told us there was nothing man couldn't do. Knowledge was all powerful. Intellect could conquer nature. Since we were brighter than most folks, or so we thought, the spoils of victories would be ours for the thinking. Well, you can think you're spoiled victories, but that doesn't have any sustenance to it. Hi, Julia. It's good to see you. The God of intellect displaced the God of the fathers. But again, John Barleycorn had other ideas. We who had won so handsomely in a walk turned into all-time losers. We saw that we had to reconsider or die. We found many in AA who once thought as we did. They helped us get down to our right size. By their example, they showed us that humility and intellect could be compatible, provided we place humility first. When we began to do that, we received the gift of faith, a faith which works. This faith is for you too. You still got your intellect, but now it's being driven in a different direction. Like mansplaining. Let me explain mansplaining to you. Unsolicited advice. People telling you what to do. People telling you who you are. I had one guy earlier. He said, it sounds like you need to get back to meetings. See, he was making assumptions about me. And finally, I just said, why are you gaslighting? You're a therapist. Why are you gaslighting? His whole thing was, he was talking about alcohol and people cheating in marriage. Right. Julia says what Julia is trying to say is ... Another crowd of AAs says we were plumb disgusted with religion and all its works. The Bible, we said, was full of nonsense. We could cite a chapter and verse, and we still couldn't see the Beatitudes for the begats. In spots, its morality was impossibly good. In others, it seemed impossibly bad. But it was the morality of the religionists themselves that really got us down. We gloated over the hypocrisy, bigotry, and crushing self-righteousness that clung to so many believers in their Sunday best. How we loved to shout the damaging fact that millions of good men of religion were still killing one another off in the name of God. It's all meant, of course, that we had substitute negative for positive thinking. And really, we're just using other people that are doing the same shit that we're doing. This is us calling the kettle black. It's because we're doing it too. And we don't like it, but we're going to drink that part of it away. And we're not mad at religion. Oh, no. So you think that one person represents all of Christianity? Out of the millions and millions and millions and millions of Christians? Because one person, maybe even 100 of them, but that's still so minute compared to how many people there are. There's bad apples in everything. Doesn't matter where you go. Doesn't matter what you do. There's a bad apple in something, including AA. And here it comes. After we came to AA, we had to recognize that this trait had been an ego-feeding proposition. In belaboring the sins of some religious people, we could feel superior to all of them. Hey, it's raining. I can hear it on the... because I have a big window behind me too, so... Supposed to snow here in Colorado tomorrow. I don't know if it's just staying up in the high country, but it is supposed to snow. So I did not seed my lawn in time. Darn it. Oh, well. All right. So by putting down those 10, 15, 100,000, 10,000 people, we judged the whole group. Well, I'm Christian. Oh, well, I know Christians. No thanks. It's not very open-minded, right? Moreover, we could avoid looking at some of our own shortcomings. Self-righteousness, that very thing that we had contemptuously condemned in others was our own besetting evil. This phony form of respectability was our undoing so far as faith was concerned. But finally, driven to AA, we learned better. As psychiatrists have often observed, defiance is the outstanding character of many alcoholics. I have a lot of defiance, absolutely. So it's not strange that lots of us have had our day defining God himself. Sometimes it's because God has not delivered us the good things of life which we have specified. As a greedy child makes an impossible list for Santa Claus, more often, though, we have met up with some other major calamity and to our way of thinking lost out because God deserted us. The girl we wanted to marry had other notions. We prayed to God she'd change her mind, but she didn't. God, please make this person love me. We prayed for healthy children and were presented with sick ones or none at all. We prayed for promotions of business and none came. Loved ones upon whom we hardly depended were taken from us by so-called acts of God. Then we became drunkards and asked God to stop that, but nothing happened. That was the uncondis kind of all. Damn this faith business, we said. You know, when we demand things and don't get them, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because we know we're not going to get them. We know it's not going to happen. You know that. These are great reasons to drink. They are. These are all just excuses to drink. What is that? Faith. Faith isn't always good, just like consequences aren't always bad. But yeah, we had faith that alcohol would take care of that for us. And it did. When we encountered AA, the fallacy of our defiance was revealed. At no time had we asked what God's will was for us. Instead, we had been telling him what it ought to be. No man we saw could believe in God and defy him. 2, belief meant reliance, not defiance. In AA, we saw the fruits of this belief. Men and women spared from alcohol's final catastrophe. We saw them meet and transcend their other pains and trials. We saw them calmly accept impossible situations, seeking neither to run nor recriminate. This was not only faith. It was faith that worked under all conditions. We soon concluded that whatever price in humility we must pay, we would pay. Now let's take the guy full of faith but still reeking of alcohol. He believes he is devout. His religious observance is scrupulous. He's sure he still believes in God, but suspects that God doesn't believe in him. He takes pledges and more pledges. Following each, he not only drinks again, but acts worse than the last time. Valiantly, he tries to fight alcohol, imploring God's help, but the help doesn't come. What then can be the matter? To clergymen, doctors, friends, and family, the alcoholic who means well and tries is a heartbreaking riddle. To most AAs, he is not. There are too many of us who have been just like him and found the riddle's answer. The answer has to do with the quality of faith rather than its quantity. It's a quality. Do you think that faith has its levels? No, you either have faith or you don't. There's no in between. You either have faith or you don't. And it can be for every given situation. There's no in betweens, right? This has been our blind spot. We suppose we had humility when we really hadn't. We suppose we had been serious about religious practices. When upon honest appraisal, we found that we could be only superficial. or going to the other extreme, we had wallowed in emotionalism and mistaking it for true religious feelings. In both cases, we had been asking for something for nothing. The fact was that we really hadn't cleaned house so that the grace of God could enter and expel the obsession. In no deep or meaningful sense had we ever taken stock of ourselves, made amends to those we had harmed, or freely given to any human being without any demand for reward. We had not even prayed rightly. We had always said, grant me the wishes instead of thy will be done. The love of God and man we understood not at all. Therefore, we remained self-deceived and so incapable of receiving enough grace to restore us to sanity. Few indeed are practicing alcoholics who have any idea how irrational they are, or seeing their irrationality can bear to face it. Some will be willing to turn themselves problem drinkers, but cannot endure the suggestion that they're in fact mentally ill. Alcoholism is a mental illness. Yeah. See, alcoholism is a mental illness. Addiction is from a mental illness or trauma. And there's a big difference. Amber says faith without works is dead. Absolutely correct. All right. They are embedded in this blindness by a world which does not understand the difference between sane drinking and alcoholism. Sanity is defined as soundness of mind, yet no alcoholic, soberly analyzing his destructive behavior, whether the destruction fell on the dining room furniture or his own moral fiber, can claim soundness of mind for himself. And even then, once I got rid of the alcohol, it still took a while for soundness of mind. I don't have soundness of mind today, really. I'm getting there, right? Therefore, step 2 is the rallying point for all of us. See, a place that we can all land because we agree on a few things, right? Whether agnostic, atheist, or former believer, we can stand together on this step. True humility and an open mind can lead us to faith, and every AA meeting is an assurance that God will restore us to sanity if we rightly relate ourselves to Him. Oh shit, that took 58 minutes. I didn't know I had gone that long. Whew, okay. Well, I guess I had a little bit of talking to do on that one, huh? There's your meeting. Hour-long meeting. There you go. And there were, 5, 6 people here. So, yeah, that was an AA meeting. In a sense. All right. But see, you get to choose your God, your higher power. You call him Fred for all I care. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. I love you. You know I do. Peace out.